All right, welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into a really incredible mystery pulled straight from an ancient text found in Codex 6, known as the Acts of Peter and the 12 Apostles. We're going to completely decode the fascinating allegory hidden inside this narrative. It's a story that blends high seas travel, cryptic strangers, and this deeply profound spiritual test. If you've ever been captivated by how these ancient texts use layered symbolism to get to a deeper truth, well, you are absolutely in for a treat today. Let's just jump right into it.
So, I want you to imagine stepping off a boat into a strange, totally unknown city. The very first thing that cuts through the noise of the busy crowd is this mysterious figure just loudly shouting a cryptic cry. Pearls. Pearls? It's kind of like a modern-day street vendor yelling at the top of their lungs, but instead of hot dogs or cheap watches, they're selling something invisible. Right away, your curiosity has to be piqued, right? What is this guy really selling? Why is he yelling it in the streets? And honestly, who exactly is he trying to attract with such a bizarre pitch? Well, to understand how our protagonists even found themselves in this wild situation, we have to trace their steps.
The text outlines a very deliberate journey to reach this merchant. Peter and the apostles leave their house, they head to the sea, and they intentionally board a ship. They end up sailing continuously, day and night, guided by what they call the Lord's kindness, until the winds finally just die down. And where do they end up? They land at a small, really peculiar city completely surrounded by the sea. It's this isolated island destination, literally in the middle of nowhere. And that isolation is actually our very first clue that we're not looking at a normal physical journey here. We're dealing with a spiritual one.
Now, as soon as they land, Peter does what any lost traveler would do. He asks the locals on the shore where they are, and their answer sets this incredibly heavy, symbolic tone for the rest of the journey. They tell him the city is named Oikoterion, which is a specific Greek term they translate as the foundation of endurance. Instantly, the text is signaling to us that arriving here, and more importantly, surviving here, is going to require some immense spiritual and physical stamina.
And then there's the merchant himself. Notice the precise, almost regal description of the guy they meet at the edge of this city of endurance. He's described as beautiful to look at, wearing fine linen and a gold belt, but his face and hands are completely veiled by a scarf. He's holding a book in his left hand and a staff made of styrax wood in his right. And actually, fun fact about styrax, it was historically used for both incense and medicine, which is just a brilliant, subtle little bit of foreshadowing for what's going to happen later in our story.
So Peter walks up to the striking veiled figure and greets him super warmly, calling him brother and friend. And despite the merchant's majestic, wealthy appearance, he instantly bridges the gap between them. He validates Peter's greeting and claims that, hey, he's also just a stranger far from home, looking for a place to crash, exactly like the apostles. This immediate sense of kinship is super crucial, especially when you contrast it with how he treats literally everyone else in the city.
Because that contrast creates the central conflict of the text. When the rich people of the city hear the merchant, their reaction is 100% transactional. They just want to buy his pearls with their vast wealth. And when he refuses, they mock him and walk away empty-handed. But on the flip side, the poor approach him. They openly admit, look, we don't have any money, but they have genuine curiosity. They just want to see a pearl. And in return for that utter humility, he promises them the pearl entirely for free.
The merchant is just firmly rejecting the entitled mindset of the wealthy. He tells them point blank, I did not bring them here to sell for your money. His invisible pearls simply cannot be bought with worldly currency. They are reserved strictly for those who are willing to make a very specific sacrifice. They have to be willing to travel to the merchant's own city. It's this powerful, sweeping metaphor about the accessibility of spiritual truth. It's completely free for sure, but it demands serious effort.
So when the poor eagerly ask for directions to the city, the merchant lays out a terrifyingly strict set of rules. I mean, talk about packing light. Travelers have to carry absolutely zero worldly burdens. No extra clothes, no bread, no water, nothing. They have to fast entirely and leave everything behind just to survive the wild animals and robbers along this narrow path. The logic here makes total sense. Anything you carry from the physical world is literally just going to weigh you down and make you a target.
Just before the apostles actually depart to walk this super dangerous, narrow path, Peter stops and asks the merchant for his name. And the merchant gives another heavily symbolic answer, Lithargol, which translates to light, shining stone. This is a massive aha moment in the text. Even his name is an allegory, directly referencing the very pearls he's been calling out in the streets. He isn't just selling the shining stones, right? His identity is fundamentally, intrinsically tied to them. Following Lithargo's intense instructions, Peter and the apostles literally drop everything they own. They endure this completely grueling, starving journey along the narrow path. They are so hungry, so exhausted, and yet, the text reveals this incredible paradox. The absolute second they cross the threshold of his city gates, they find total rest. All the pain vanishes. Total physical deprivation somehow led to total physical relief. Their strict obedience, their willingness to just shed all that worldly baggage, directly resulted in their salvation from pain.
Okay, so now they're safely inside the city, and the apostles immediately start searching for the house of Lethargoel, the shining stone merchant. But instead of finding a gem dealer, they stumble into this incredibly unexpected encounter. They bump into a man who looks exactly like a physician. He's carrying a traditional medicine box, walking with a young disciple. Remember that styrax wood staff from earlier? Yep, those subtle little hints of medicine are finally starting to materialize.
Naturally, Peter politely asks this doctor for directions, but come on, in an allegory heavily focused on the foundation of endurance, there are literally no coincidences. So who exactly are they really talking to here? The text has been playing with identities and veils and disguises from the very first page.
As Peter is standing there asking for directions, the physician looks at him dead in the eye and drops this massive, completely perspective-shifting question. "Peter, don't you recognize me?" And in that exact instant, the physician's physical appearance just begins to transform right before their eyes. The disguise drops, the veil is finally lifted, and the true nature of their entire journey snaps into brilliant, overwhelming focus.
The physician is revealed to be their Lord, Jesus Christ. Overcome with the realization, Peter and the apostles immediately fall to their feet in worship. And guys, this is the text's ultimate structural payoff. The cryptic merchant shouting in the streets, the invisible pearls, the grueling narrow path, and now the physician. It was a deliberate test from day one. It was Jesus Christ testing their faith, guiding their steps, and leading them right to this very revelation.
Jesus then breaks down the allegory directly for them, just to make sure there is zero misunderstanding about his dual identity. He was Lethargoel, the true, precious pearl of infinite value that the poor so desperately wanted. And at the exact same time, he is the ultimate physician, the one who holds the true medicine required to actually heal the souls of humanity. He embodies both the treasure they were seeking and the healing they desperately needed.
But check this out. The story doesn't just end with a neat little revelation. It immediately transitions into action. Now that they're equipped with this profound understanding of who their master is, they are handed a physical task. Jesus literally hands Peter the medicine box and a pouch. He gives them a direct, undeniable commandment to go out into all the cities, specifically to preach to the poor, which, remember, is the exact demographic that showed genuine curiosity for the pearl back in the city of Endurance.
And he gives them a highly specific operational strategy. It's step by step. First, seek out the poor who are willing to drop their burdens. Second, and the order here is absolutely vital, heal their physical bodies with the medicine first. Why? Well, because third, this physical healing opens the door for them to believe. Fourth, once they believe, Jesus himself will step in to heal their eternal souls. And finally, step 5, they are instructed to completely ignore the rich and proud whose hearts are just too weighed down by the love of the material world.
Armed with this perfectly clear mission, the text concludes just beautifully. The apostles don't leave feeling burdened by this massive global task. Instead, they step out filled with absolute joy and peace. The mystery is totally solved, their life's purpose is crystallized, and they are ready to boldly share both this literal and spiritual medicine with a broken world, exactly the way their master outlined for them.
So, as we wrap up this explainer on the Acts of Peter and the 12 apostles, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. This ancient text challenges us to really look at what we truly value. So I got to ask you, what modern, worldly burdens are you carrying today? What baggage do you need to drop right now, just to clear your vision, survive the narrow path, and find your own foundation of endurance? Think about that, and keep seeking the truth.